Davis steps under center. Gibson and McClendon behind him. Davis with motion by Richard. Will give the ball to McClendon. He leaps. Oh, he doesn't get in. He fumbled the football. Carolina holds. The game is over. And Carolina has won the game.
Finley to throw. Over the middle, intercepted. Wolford again. Wolford the other way at the 30, the 40. Wolford to midfield. Miles Wolford with the pick. The Heels on the doorstep of an enormous victory.
Left side of the line. Hood standing to Williams' right. Williams gonna throw. One-on-one. Davis has it. Touchdown. Carolina wins. Carolina is the Coastal Division champion. Bernard fields it at the 26. Heading to the far side. Gio at the 35. Gio is at the 50. No, he's not. Yes, he is. Gio is going to take it for a touchdown. Are you kidding me? Connor Barth for the possible win. Snap, spot, kick away, high enough, long enough. It's good! It's good! Carolina has won the game on a 42-yard field goal by freshman Connor Barth. Good gosh, dirty!
This is the Heel Tough Blog Podcast.
Hey guys, and welcome to another edition of the Heel Tough Blog Podcast. It's your host, as always, Anthony Pagnotta here with you, and today we are joined by yet another former Tar Heel, and this time it's one of the best defensive backs to ever put on a Tar Heel uniform. Ricky Barden is joining us today. And first of all, Ricky, been checking on everybody. Of course, last year when we did this was during COVID times. This year, a little bit different. Things are starting to open back up, but it has definitely been a tough year for a lot of people. So how have you and the family been hanging in there over the past, year and about 3 months now since everything started with COVID?
Well, it's been challenging, just like everybody's been dealing with it, but we made it through it okay. Bumps and bruises here and there, but other than that, everything's going okay.
Well, that's good to hear. That's good to hear. And, when, you look at your football career at Carolina, you're one of those guys yet again. And it seems like, a lot of the really great Tar Heels kind of went through this. You were a guy that was coached by two different head coaches and two very good head coaches, but two very differing personalities as well. You were brought in by Bill Dooley and, played your first 2 years under him. And then, of course, in comes Dick Crum and takes over for your final 2 years. So, when you look back on those two coaches, what were the biggest differences that you saw between those two coaches?
Well, Coach Dooley was more like a lunch pail kind of guy. He was tough, hardcore. It was you had to get it done because he was more or less a roughhouse kind of coach. Coach Crum was more like a math professor. He was more X's and O's kind of guy and easygoing, and it's hard to get him angry. It seemed like he just seemed like more like one of your school professors or something. So they had totally different type of personalities, and you had to make an adjustment because one was his certain way, and the other was the other way, opposite. And if you couldn't make the adjustment, you probably was going to run into some problems. And I just tried to just play the game to the best of my ability and hope that it would work out. And that's what carried me through.
Well, it worked out pretty well for you, and one of the other adjustments that you had to make in your time on campus was, your senior year, you make the move from cornerback to strong safety, and you actually had, arguably your best year on campus, 103 total tackles, only 2 interceptions, but, from what it seems like, a lot of people weren't really throwing in your direction. Why do you think you were able to be so successful with that move and having to do it as a senior coming into your most important year?
Yeah, that's a good point. I was hesitant about making the move, and Coach Crum had mentioned to me about he needed me in the middle of the field to help the team. So I tried to put the team concept first in that situation, and I figured that for me to become a professional football player, it was going to be more as a cornerback than a safety. But I kind of felt like I need to get the team concept in first and hope for the best, as far as my professional career would go from there.
Well, look, I mean, you had a ton of success. You were one of the leaders of that defense, and I mean, that move seemed to really work out for you. Second team All-American that year, first team All-ACC, and you had a lot of talent around you. The one guy that everybody is, of course, going to want to hear about is, a guy that turned out to be a superstar at that time when, you were on campus. He was starting to show some signs. When you look back at Lawrence Taylor, what is the thing that you remember most about his career when you were there and as he was sort of building up into what he would eventually become?
Lawrence was a tenacious, not only football player, but he was a tenacious individual. And winning was not secondhand to him at all. And he would do whatever it took to win. Even when he was there as a sophomore, he was on point to what he needed to do, and he did it as aggressively as possible, and he did it with a lot of urgency. I mean, he just was naturally a very strong guy, and he had a lot of athletic ability. And once he was able to put all that in the same body with him, because he was growing the whole time, because he came to North Carolina at like 198, 200 pounds. And by the time he was a junior or senior, he was like 240, 250. So when you put that athletic ability, that tenacity, all of that into somebody who's grown size-wise, you get what you got with him, which was one of the best linebackers I've ever seen play the game.
Yeah, he was tremendous. And, I mean, look, he had some really great teammates with him as well. Buddy Curry's a guy that I think a lot of people don't talk a whole lot about. He's definitely one of the more underrated guys. And then, one of the guys that I always look at and I wonder, what could have been because he was just such a special athlete was Steve Streater. I've talked to multiple people about his career and just how special of a player he was. I mean, this was a guy that in, his final year on campus, he was a first-team defensive back and a first-team all-ACC punter. What do you remember about him being that, not only was he one of your teammates on the defensive side of the ball, but he was also in that defensive backfield room with you?
Steve was one of my favorites. I mean, I love that guy. And we did a lot off the field together. We hung out together. We practiced together. We talked a lot. And like I said, he was one of my favorite teammates. And I miss him so much because when we stopped playing in Carolina and went our separate ways, we stayed in touch quite a bit. And when he got in an accident, he still was the same crazy, wild streeter that he always was. That kept everybody laughing. But I really miss Steve because we did a lot together, and then we got on the football field and both tried to be successful in that aspect also.
Yeah, well, both of you guys were extremely successful. And look, getting back to you end up going on and playing professional football. You did it up in Canada, but you had an extremely successful career with the Ottawa Rough Riders up there. 15 career interceptions. Also had plenty of success as both a kick and punt returner. What was that experience like? And I'm assuming that it was also, it definitely had to be a different, start to your career when you got up there because you were going from being a guy that was originally born and raised in Virginia, then you go to Carolina, and then eventually you circle around and go up to Canada. So how different was that experience for you?
Well, the game in the CFL was a lot different from the National Football League, and you had to adjust to the size of the field. You had to adjust to the motion that goes on up there, and it just took a little while to adjust because the end zones in the CFL are like 25 yards, and in the NFL the end zones were 10. In college they were 10.
Right.
So you had to get used to the size of the field, the emotion. And the game in the CFL, it was more of a finesse and a speed game, where in the National Football League, it was more of a power game, size and everything. So you had to get used to a lot of motion and a lot of quickness and a lot of speed. And it took some adjustments for a lot of guys that came from the U.S.
Yeah, well, I mean, you had plenty of success with it. Don't sell yourself short. And, I mean, 6 very strong years in the CFL with the Rough Riders. And since then, where has life taken you off the football field? I've asked this question to a lot of different guys, and there are so many different directions that it goes. But where has life taken you post-football? Well,
for the last 26 years, I've been working in telecommunications, and it really, people don't recognize how sports can help you in your post life, but you learn a good work ethic, you learn teamwork, and you learn to just be accountable. And all those things you do as a football player, you also do them in the workplace also. So those things I combine with what I've been doing in telecommunications with Cox Communications, and I've been, like I said, been with them for 26 years. And it's an environment that you have to, like I say, be accountable for, and you have to show a great work ethic. And that's all I've tried to do for my 26 years that I've been there. And it seems to have been working out pretty good for me.
Well, the last thing I'll ask you before we get you out of here, there is Carolina brings in Mack Brown in 2018, and one of the main things that he has said, and in talking to a lot of people that have played at Carolina over the years, that he seems to have executed so far, is really establishing a really good relationship with some of the alumni. Have you noticed that as well? And are you planning to take a trip to Chapel Hill anytime soon to see this team in action, a team that I think is playing about as well as it has in a very long time?
I can see the excitement. I came to, before the pandemic hit, I came to Chapel Hill to Letterman's Day, and as a matter of fact, I came to the Duke game, and I can sense the excitement that the fans were having. I can also sense the excitement because I went in the locker room after the game. I can see the excitement with the players. And he's bringing in very talented players, but he's bringing guys that want to win championships. And I think those mentalities, instead of guys just being happy to be on scholarship and happy to just be a part of Carolina football, these guys are coming in wanting to win championships. And you can feel that atmosphere, you can feel that drive. And I think Coach Brown is doing a heck of a job with recruiting, and he's teaching and he's coaching these guys. And I think when you do it that way, success is right around the corner as far as on the national scene. And I think that's what Coach Mack Brown wants to do. He wants Carolina football to be a national recognition from in terms of what's going on in that aspect.
Yeah, and who knows? That could be as soon as this year, especially when you got a quarterback like Sam Howell in place. Hey, Ricky, thanks for joining us, man. That was tremendous. Love talking to you, man. Definitely one of those guys that comes from that era. Start of the Dick Crum era, end of the Bill Dooley era. That was just extremely successful. Thanks for taking some time out and talking to us and sharing some of those great stories.
Well, thanks for having me, man. I really appreciate it, and hopefully we'll get to see each other pretty soon.
Yeah, that would be fantastic, man. I'm going to be at a ton of games this year, so if you're coming into town, just let me know. I'm going to be I'm a season ticket holder, so I'll be at every game, and I would love to talk to you in person. All right, man?
All right, take it easy.
All right, thank you.
Bye-bye.
All right, so there is Ricky Barden, the former Tar Heel defensive back, stopping by with us here on the Heel Tough Blog podcast. Really great talking to him, sharing some great memories there of some really talented guys and of his extremely successful career as well. And again, guys, it's just, we're going to keep rolling along with them. We've got plenty of other ones that are scheduled coming up, and you guys don't want to miss them because you get a different perspective from all these different guys. They played in so many different eras, the guys that we're going to talk to, and they give it to you pretty straight. That's why I, definitely like talking, to some of the guys that have been out of the program for, the 20, 30 years or so, because, they get to reflect back on some of that stuff and tell some of those stories. And we got plenty more of those guys coming up. We got, some guys that played recently. There's a couple of those already up on the website as well that you guys can go and check out, or, in your podcast library. It's just been great. I love talking to these guys. We did it last year. It was extremely successful, and we're going to keep doing it this year and into future years as well. So that does it for the interview. Want to make sure you guys know, go to the website, HeelToughBlog.com. That's where you can check out the podcast. It's got its own tab up there right next to the Four Corners tab as well, if you guys want to go and listen. We're going to put out our first new episode in a while. It'll be episode 7, I believe. That'll be going up sometime early next week. So both podcasts are going to have new episodes. We're also going to do a football one that is not going to be an interview sometime early next week as well. I think that'll probably go up either Tuesday or Wednesday night. We'll put that up for you guys. That'll be a fun edition of the podcast. We got some interesting topics that we're going to go over. We'll update you on any news around Tar Heel football, including on the recruiting trail, as it is a big weekend in Chapel Hill. This is the first big one. Of course, it kicked off in the middle of the week with maybe the Tar Heels' biggest overall target in the 2022 class coming on campus in 5-star offensive tackle Zach Rice. So again, it's going to be a hectic month. We've got you covered on the website, HeelToughBlog.com. We've got plenty of articles up there right now. What we've been doing is when guys have come on campus, some of the big name guys, and the ones, especially the ones that are officially visiting, if we haven't already put them up, we are writing scouting reports about those guys, and then the ones that we do have up, we're also putting those back out to you guys via the social media feed so that you can read those. We're locked in. We're having you covered on everything so that you can get an idea of who's on campus, what they would bring if they were to commit while they were on campus. And we're, of course, trying to keep you up to date with as much news as we're getting that's coming out about what's going on for these guys while they are on campus in Chapel Hill. And you can read it all on the website, HeelToughBlog.com. It's not only a big month for the football program. It is, in terms of this podcast, we've been talking about that, plugging that a lot. But it's also a big month for the basketball program, too. They landed their first commitment of the Hubert Davis era, actually. I was trying to think. Yeah, that is the first commitment of the Hubert Davis era on the recruiting trail. Will Shaver commits to Carolina, so that's a big one. A guy that, a lot of people are sort of trying to figure out what exactly he is, why he's only rated as a 3-star. Pretty much what most people have said is that that's a ranking that carried over from the prior year. Most people believe that he will be a 4-star, will probably be somewhere around, the mid-50s. He'll be a pretty highly rated prospect when they re-update the rankings. So make sure that you guys are checking out the website for all the latest on that. Josh will have you covered on all the news that comes out for Tar Heel basketball recruiting during the month. Both teams really hitting it hard right now on the recruiting trail, and HeelToughBlog.com is the place to check out all that stuff. Place where you can get everything all in one area. It is going to be the social media feeds, mainly the Facebook feed. That's going to give you everything in one central location. The Twitter feed does as well, but when it comes to like posting the video podcast, we do those through Facebook, so it's just easier to go there, because if you go to the Twitter page and click on the links that we have for the video podcast, it's going to take you to Facebook. But either way, Heel Tough Blog on Facebook. Just search that that in the search bar. Make sure you like and follow the page, and you'll be able to see all the articles, video podcast, regular podcasts, all in one spot. And then same thing, on Twitter, we put all the articles up. As I mentioned, we put all the podcasts up, so you guys can check all that stuff out there. It's at Heel Tough Blog on Twitter. And then if you want to follow the individual accounts for the guys at the Heel Tough Blog, it is for me at HTB Anthony. For Josh, it's at HTB Josh. And then for Zach Hubbard, who is our recruiting analyst, he is at Hack Zubbard 2 on Twitter. So that wraps it up for this edition of the podcast. Want to thank Ricky Barden for stopping by with us. Want to thank you guys for listening. And as always, go Tar Heels!